Okay. So let's start. Greetings, everyone. We're Group 7 in the Lasallian Studies subject. And as you can see in the thumbnail, we are talking about AI, the ethical use of AI in the field of education. But before we can dwell on that, before we can start our podcast, we're gonna introduce ourselves first. I'm Hansel Ilagan.
I'm Tiara Cabana.
I'm Fred Pumaren.
I'm Robert C.
And I'm Kevin Golen.
I'm Jantan.
Okay, now that you Okay, now that we've introduced ourselves, first of all, why did we choose this subject? First of all, I'm gonna speak Tagalog a little bit, but since the start of the pandemic, up until now, AI have surged on its usage. Like marami nang gumagamit ng AI in multiple fields. But now we're gonna focus it on education because it has been like a very debatable topic and whether and how we can use AI. So for the first part of this podcast, Fred, and Tiara, we are gonna talk about the background of this issue, followed by Robert and Zan with the solutions, and Kevin with the reflection and closing. So let's start with my part first. Um, what do I think about AI? So first of all, I'm gonna tell the background. So where's na ba yung na-research ko? Ayun. So first of all, like what I've said earlier, AI has been increasingly being integrated. Like yun nga, start ng pandemic pa. And dahil sa marami ng mga tao na gumagamit nun, syempre, hindi lahat ginagamit yun in the right way. So, it somewhat raises ethical concerns related to academic integrity. And through research, UNESCO said that AI should be implemented with human oversight, making sure that AI should support the studies of the student rather than replacing meaningful learning. And that moves on to my second point, which is the difference of learning and being dependent. AI, it's definitely an effective learning assistant. It gives explanation, practice questions, and personalized feedback. But, sometimes students are really reliant on it. Wherein like, ginagamit siya sa paggawa ng sarili nilang essay. And minsan, unfortunately, sometimes they use it to like cheat on tests. So like, they're really like, kunwari, they're being dependent on it. And that's not the case. That shouldn't be the goal of using AI. I have a saying that the only way that students will learn when they're the ones who's discovering something. And I believe that, AI should be there just to, make that path easier on discovering the things that we want to learn. And moving on to my third point, AI is still inaccurate in sending misinformation. You know, alam ko ganun din kayo kasi sometimes may event na you're searching you're asking AI for help. Like kunwari, AI, what is this? And then it's gonna send that information and then biglang magdududa ka. Parang hindi to totoo. So you're like you did a quick search and then yun nga, it's not really accurate. Because AI is still not perfect. It can still produce inaccurate, outdated, or like fabricated responses. And syempre, it should always be checked against credible academic sources. And regarding sa ethical AI use, when used responsibly, I truly believe, that AI can personalize learning, provide immediate feedback, and improve accessibility for different kinds of learners. And if we focus on the ethical parts of AI, it can also promote transparency, academic honesty, and responsible decision making. and with our school by making guidelines about this. And if we follow those guidelines properly, I do believe that we can maximize AI's educational benefits. So, that's on my part. So, let's move to Fred on what he searched about AI and the background of it.
Thank you, Hansel, for your insights. And I totally agree with you on how AI is somewhat affecting the cognitive development of our generation today. And we can't deny the fact that AI really is a powerful tool when it comes to the academic setting, especially it's being implemented within um educational systems, even in businesses. But when exploited, this can in undermine the core mission of the education when it comes to school and fosters cognitive laziness, creates operational inefficiencies, and completely neglects the foundational skills the schools aim to instill. I'm pretty sure you've many students or even some experience having group mates submitting completely AI generated works, which is nakakainis, honestly. And that's what's wrong with how many students depend on AI and how it can stunt the intellectual growth and prevents problem solving abilities to bloom and further let students discover what more of themselves that they can give to the educational systems. And this so-called shortcut many students resort to can result to many academic inefficiencies and wherein academic integrity no longer exists and it cancels out the concept of discipline and creativity when it comes to originality. This is why for me we should know the importance of knowing ethical usage of AI as instead of being a deceptive shortcut when cutting into essays, creating assignments, this can be a powerful tool for us or human intelligence. Rather than it replaces us, it makes us even more powerful as it protects the academic integrity and establishes trust between your teachers and your group mates where it can further promote cognitive growth, encourages deep critical thinking, and data literacy without stripping awareness of essential struggle of learning. This can help us prepare us students to know how to use AI to our advantage and create more or rather enhance our critical thinking when it comes to solve when coming into the real world situation. And I would like to pass the floor now to Tiara on her insights on this issue.
Thank you, Fred. For me naman, what I really looked into was AI use within the university. As a Lasallian, when I looked up our university's core values, one of it is to help form individuals who exemplify excellence, integrity, and social responsibility. But like it was mentioned earlier, AI use leads to things like yun nga, spread of misinformation, cognitive laziness, lack of creativity, plagiarism, both students plagiarizing from AI and also AI plagiarizing from human outputs. So we see that these things directly oppose the moral goals that are meant to guide the university. So with that, I looked into the like what does the university do in response to this. So LASA actually does have a policy called Policies on Generative Artificial Intelligence in Higher Education. It recognizes the risk of weakening cognitive skills due to AI dependence. It also acknowledges AI's tendency to hallucinate and spread misinformation. So, what the policy dictates is that to mitigate these risks, is that AI use should be transparent. That's basically it. It has guidelines on, you know, responsible AI use, but none of it are things that are measurable. So the only thing that it really explicitly dictates is that AI use should be transparent. But even with this one rule, it's not really properly implemented in my experience. Like oftentimes, faculty members will not really require an AI use declaration, even when it is a university policy. So I feel like it shows na it's inadequate to leave most of the AI use regulation up to faculty discretion, which is essentially what the policy is doing. So I feel as though the current policies of De La Salle University are not really sufficiently thorough in regulating generative AIs to use mitigate issue. Sorry, to it is not sufficiently thorough at regulating generative AI use to mitigate misuse. So yeah, that's all I really looked into. So let's see what solutions Robert and Shan looked into.
Okay. First of all, we all know that AI is a very lucrative business, right? It's like a lot of money is being pushed into AI. So I think most universities really want students to be at least AI competent and like know how to use the new tools and like be along for the time. You know how to use they don't want, the university doesn't want you to fall behind. That's the thing. So the university doesn't want to like inhibit too much, doesn't want you to like what's the correct word or what's the correct term, like doesn't want you to not use AI because it wants you to use AI because it's the new thing, it's the new craze, and they don't want their students to be falling behind. So I also agree that the school should have a clear guideline now. Okay, students use AI, you can use it on this and but don't ever use it on this because this is actually this part, this section of the no, the thing that you have to do. Please never use AI on this because this, like let's say tests. If you use AI on tests, tests are there for the students. They're there for the schools to know how competent the student is. If students use AI on tests, then what's the point of the test being given? Since that's just cheating. Don't cheat. The other solution I've thought of is I also agree that students should disclose if they use AI so that obviously you don't want to be scammed, right? Just imagine your teacher, he's grading your paper and he says, oh, it's really well written. Then it's actually not you who wrote it, it's AI. Then what's the point? Your teacher was really proud of you at the time. He thought that you're the one who wrote that. It's like you're scamming yourself since you're not the one who wrote it, and you're scamming your teacher, which is even worse for me, I believe, because your teacher's just doing his job, and you're like shooting your own foot, and you're also like making it worse for others around you. The other one is that obviously the schools, they need to teach AI literacy, and they also need to teach the ethical use, when to use AI, when not to use AI. But most schools obviously want to teach AI literacy because it's a it's very lucrative right now. A lot of companies want workers and managers who know how to use AI, since it's like it saves money, it makes money, etc., etc. Then the other one is if students need to use AI, then like one way they can use AI is for their learning, to make their learning more fun, more engaging, since we know there are those teachers who are just there not really to teach but there to like study themselves, so sometimes they don't have the best competency of teaching. So I guess people can use AI to make learning much more easier, much more fun for them. The other solution I've thought of is uh schools and even society as a whole should like design AI in a way that it should emphasize human creativity, human thinking. Like instead of like feeding LLMs like more slop, they should try to emphasize like teachers can use more oral presentations or class discussions, so that it kind of forces you not to be able to use AI, since it's very obvious since you can't really ask AI to make you an oral presentation since you're the one who's going to be speaking the entire time, right? The other one is problem solving. Since AI can't really be there with you the entire time, you can't just pull out your phone and ask it to solve the problem immediately right there on the spot. Like on the spot thinking, you're thinking of the problem, you're looking at the problem itself, and it exercises your brain in a way that uh like it's you're the human who's thinking yourself. And it's also really good for your own future prospects since you can, you have critical human thinking, one a very rare skill in these times. I would pass the floor to Zan now.
Um, so for me, the solution I think is like first promote the verification of AI generated information. Like students should critically evaluate AI generated content before using it for academic purpose. AI system may produce inaccurate, outdates or fabricated information. Therefore, students should verify importance claims using credible academic sources such as peer-reviewed journals, textbooks, official publication, and reputable university websites. Encouraging encouraging information verification strengthens research skills, and then critical thinking and academic reliability. And second, I think I encourage AI as a learning support tool rather than a replacement for learning. AI should be used to facilitate learning by providing explanations, generating practice questions, and then offering feedback, organizing information. Well, however, student should remain actively engaged in the learning process by analyzing information, solving problems independently, and then developing their own understanding. Research suggests that excessive reliance on AI may negatively affect students' motivations, creativity, and long-term cognitive development. And then third, foster a culture of academic integrity within the Nasanian community. The Nasanian community should encourage encourage students to use AI ethically and then responsibility while upholding the principle of honest originality and accountability. Students should recognize that AI is a tool to enhance learning rather than a means of avoiding academic responsibility. So by promoting responsible AI practices among peers, the universe can cultivate a culture that values genuine learning and ethical scholarship. And next is like encourage independent thinking alongside AI assisted learning. Students should be encouraged to develop their own ideas and solutions before consulting AI tools by attempting to solve problems independently first. Learners strengthen their analytical reasoning, creativity, and confidence. AI should serve as a supplementary resource that supports reflection and deeper understanding rather than replacing the intellectual effort required in higher education. And lastly, promote responsible peer learning and knowledge sharing. Students should collaborate with classmates by discussing AI assisted learning strategies and share reliable resources and encouraging one another to use AI ethically. And peer learning can reduce misuse of AI while fostering collaboration, mu- mutual accountability, and a strong sense of responsibility within the Lasanian community. Such practices reinforce the university's commitment to integrity, excellence, and serve. And next
Okay,
is our
okay.
reflection and closing. Yeah.
Th thanks for the insights, Robert and Zan, for the solutions. And actually, halos nandun na lahat ng mga information natin. But for Kevin, ano yung what are the possible, conclusions and insights that you have gotten from this podcast for the listeners na rin, so para ano yung malaman pa din nilang makuha dito.
First of all, na I think thank you na rin sa ano, appreciate naman, appreciative. I think may appreciate naman ng mga listeners about your solutions and your insights about the usage of AI. I mean, again, the AI is very recent naman. So the usage is like growing for like a lot of people have been using AI throughout the like I think every moment. And also majority of people are using AI naman from what I could see. However, there are many problems with the use of AI as mentioned earlier, such as the inaccuracy. It could hinder or stun students, especially students' critical thinking skills, and it could make people become more lazy when it comes to use AI because they see it as some sort of shortcut. And and what and from the solutions, yeah, again, like spreading the ethical use, being more responsible, and to encourage being independent, and I think also encouraging forcing students to become more critical, like using the critical thinking skills instead of just using AI to gather or get answers. Because for me naman, personally, I use AI. Like I wouldn't really hide it naman. Because again, a lot of people are also using it. And for me, I use AI as some sort of assistance or as some sort of tool as a guidance naman. So, for example, like, especially like research, instead of just asking to make some sort of paragraph that I would put into research, instead I was just asking it about like providing me sources, like provide me sources or articles that I want to use for my research. And then AI would actually give you the sources. But since again, it could be inaccurate, I would have to read the articles and sources to fact check the like not necessarily to fact check, but like to be certain about the information provided by the AI and be sure that the sources are accurate naman. And it could also be used some sort of a guidance, especially like doing assignments and like homework, well, not really homework, but like practices. It could be used as some sort of practice for like example, like doing like math exams or in other things naman. So again, especially as a Lasallian, we should all spread the ethical use of AI, like not just for students naman, but also for other people and especially like again, many companies are pushing the usage of AI, and again, and as students, we should all just use like the purpose of being like focus on academics and developing our critical thinking skills. So because it helps us in the future naman then. And especially for our future careers. And that's it for me naman.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Another good insight, definitely. And also thank you, everyone. I think that's it. We've hit the mark. Sakto lang yung time. And thank you, everyone, for attending this podcast. And for the listeners, I hope you've learned something from sa mga sinasabi namin. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna stop recording this now. Oh, yeah. Thank you.